Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Terus berpacu dalam keunggulan, lincah pembelajar untuk kehidupan. Inilah semangat baru, tekad raih kesempatan, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya.
Kususuri jantung kota Bogor sejuk dan indah, berjuta kenangan ada. Ku nikmati tengah malam dan suara gerimis hujan. Basahi jiwaku tenang. Di sini ku berdiri, di sini bernyanyi tentang lembaran hidup, kenangan yang takkan pernah hilang. Bogor kota terindah, teduhkan suasana hati, tumbuhkan cinta sejati dan arti bahagia. Bogor kota terindah, bersemi mimpi-mimpiku, ciptakan masa depanku, suara doa di setiap langkahku. Kususuri jantung kota, Bogor sejuk dan indah, berjuta kenangan ada. Nikmati malam dan suara gerimis hujan, basahi jiwaku tenang. Di sini ku berdiri, di sini ku bernyanyi tentang lembaran hidup, kenangan yang takkan pernah hilang. Bukan terindah, teduhkan suasana hati, tumbuhkan cinta sejati dan arti bahagia. Bogor kota terindah, bersemi mimpi-mimpiku, ciptakan masa depanku, suara doa di setiap langkahku. Tentukan suasana hati, tumbuhkan cinta sejati dan arti bahagia. Bogor kota bersama mimpi-mimpiku, ciptakan masa depanku, suara doa di setiap langkahku. Suara doa di setiap langkahku. Suara doa di setiap langkahku. Kususuri jantung kota, Bogor sejuk dan indah, berjuta kenangan ada. Ku nikmati lengang malam dan suara gerimis hujan, basahi jiwaku tenang. Di sini ku berdiri, di sini ku bernyanyi tentang lembaran hidup, kenangan yang takkan pernah hilang. Bogor kota bersemi mimpi-mimpiku, ciptakan masa depanku, suara doa di setiap langkahku. Ku susuri jantung kota, Bogor sejuk dan indah. Berjuta kenangan ada, nikmati malam dan suara gerimis hujan, basahi jiwaku tenang. Di sini ku berdiri, di sini ku bernyanyi tentang lembaran hidup, kenangan yang takkan pernah hilang. Kota terindah, teduhkan suasana hati, tumbuhkan cinta sejati yang arti bahagia. Kota terindah, bersemi mimpiku, ciptakan masa depanku, suara doa di setiap langkahku. Teduhkan suasana hati, tumbuhkan cinta sejati dan arti bahagia. Bukan bersama mimpi-mimpiku, ciptakan masa depanku, suara doa di setiap langkahku.
Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Gerak arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia, dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan. Muda, jiwa pengabdian, kerasan akan tertahan. Majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Terus maju dalam keunggulan, lincah pembelajar untuk kehidupan. Inilah semangat baru, tekad raih kekuatan, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Bersatu sama takkan mari bersama menghadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your kind attention, please? My name is Hari Otang Sasmita, and on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. It is our privilege to have you with us today. We are going to start the proceedings of the webinar. Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Good morning We are delighted to welcome you to the 12th SV-IPB webinar series entitled How to Enhance Food Safety in Food Production, an Industry Perspective. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. This webinar is also part of the first summer course on nutrition, agriculture, and sustainable food system in tropical countries. Honorable Dr. Insinyur Arif Daryanto, MEC, Dean of College of Vocational Studies, IPB University, Dr. Insinyur Bagus P. Purwanto, MAGR, Vice Dean of Academics and Student Affairs, Dr. Insinyur Wawan Oktariza, MSc, Vice Dean of Human Resource, Cooperation and Development, Dr. Desi Tambayong, Senate of Academic SPIPB. Speakers, Mr. Sugiono STP from PT Greenfield Indonesia, Ms. Ria Lestari from PT Aerofood Indonesia, University partners from Melbourne Polytechnic Australia, University of Western Australia, Van Hol Larenstein University of Applied Science, the Netherlands, Tarlac University, the Philippines, Iloilo Science of Technology University, Guimara State University, National Taiwan University, Nagoya University, and Polytechnic Pembangunan Pertanian. Distinguished participants, lecturers, students around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the agenda. First, opening speech from Dean of IPB's College of Vocational Studies, introduction to moderator, introduction to speakers, discussion, and closing. Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the Dean of College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Arif Daryanto. Dr. Arif, the time is yours.
Oke, terima kasih Pak Otang. Honorable main speakers for this seminar, Pak Sugiono, and also Ibu Ria Lestari, Senior Manager Sales Industrial and Retail from Aerofood Indonesia, Vice Deans, Director of Polytechnic, distinguished participants, lecturers, scientists, students from University of Western Australia, Melbourne Technic Institute Australia, Nagoya University Japan, Van Hol Larenstein University of Applied Science, the Netherlands, Tarlac, and also Iloilo Science and Guamaras State College, the Philippines, and also from National Taiwan University, from Bogor Agricultural University or IPB Universities. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan welcome to the 12th international webinars organized by the College of University Indonesia with a very interesting topic, how to enhance food safety in the food production from Ladies and gentlemen, the development of food system have many positive effect to other sector of farm employment opportunities and also value addition in the economy as food industry have developed and also widening the food choice beyond local staples, thus satisfying the consumer preference in terms of taste, form, and utilities. So the food system is creating a big or high multiplier effect in the economy. However, factors such as high calorie and also low nutritional value food items that are now widely that food is nutritious and safe. According to the definition, because I'm now Pak Sugiono and also Ibu Ria Lestari now studying the reasons why food importation from Indonesia is being rejected in the Europe and also in the US. Food safety is the absence of hazard in food that may harm the health of the consumers. Foodborne hazard can be microbiological, chemical, or physical in nature, and of bacteria, viruses, and also pesticide residue are some common example of foodborne hazard. With an increasing population of 260 million, Indonesian consumers represent a huge market for an already large and fast-growing food industry, which is comprised of ready-to-eat food business, market, catering, and large number of street food vendors. By increasing the purchasing power of Indonesian society, there is a safe paradigm or safe lifestyle because the focus more on there is a just only volume orientation to values orientation. Finally, of course, that we do need to table business from farm, beyond farm, and also in our table. The complex and rapidly changing ways in which food is calculable bring great challenge to the policymakers to of course like the also agri-food has a critical role in assuring that food safe at every stage of the food from production to consumer. The food processing, food distribution, transportation, and also restaurant sectors are for the community. This webinar will discuss how the food industry is also very important pillars in the food sector, having some pillars like food availability, food affordability, and also food safety. Positioning outbreak in Indonesia, for example, I found the data that food poisoning outbreak in Indonesia are considerable public health problem. The year of 2017, for example, there were 163 outbreaks of foodborne disease across Indonesia, according to the Directorate of Environmental Health and the Public Health Emergency Operation Center of the Ministry of Health. In the food exportation, for example, the rejection received vary according to the rules that have been applied by export destination country. Reason for rejection of shrimp and also export nutmeg, for example, in the States, European Union, and also Japan were filthy, microbial contamination, and also mycotoxin. Of course, also non-tariff barriers and also tariff barriers also hindering our food exportation to the export country is also key to achieving several of the Sustainable Development Goals. Safe food contribute to economic, agriculture, market access, tourism, and also sustainable development. Last June, we celebrated World Food Safety Day, WFSD, to draw attention and inspire action to help prevent, detect, manage foodborne security, human health, economic prosperity, agriculture, market access, tourism, and also sustainable development. The this year is food safety, everyone business. So it's not industry or everyone business. The action-oriented campaign promote global food security atau food safety awareness public to take action. The action-oriented campaign safe. Government must ensure safe and nutritious food for all. Grow its and food producers need to adopt good practices. Keep it safe. A business operator must make sure food is safe. It is consumer have a right to safe, healthy, and nutritious food and team up for safety. Food safety is a shared responsibility, tanggung jawab bersama. I welcome you all once again to the international webinar and hope that you all will have a great time ahead. Honored to welcome all the participants and also speaker for taking keen part in this important international webinar. I'm sure that feel enriched with knowledge after completion of this webinar. Thank you for the International Collaboration Office, Ditmawa, IPB University for their supporting funding. Thank you for the speakers from food industry. Nevertheless, I would like to thank to the steering committee for the direction and support, and also to all members of the organizing committee for their hard work, which has made it for us to be here today. By saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I open this webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope all participants can enjoy. Pak Otang, saya kembalikan ke Pak Otang.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Pak Dekan, Dr. Arif Daryanto, for the opening speech. We are now continuing our webinar to the next agenda, which is to hear the presentations which will be delivered by Mr. Sugiono from PT Greenfields Indonesia and Mrs. Ria Lestari from PT Aerofood Indonesia. The webinar will be moderated by Mrs. I. Imas Paido, Lecturer of Food Quality Assurance Supervisor, College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. Before we start, let me read her CV. Okay, her full name is I. Imas Paido Fatima, STP MPMSC, and her background education is bachelor degree from Food Science and Technology, Brawijaya University, Indonesia, and master degree Food Science and Technology also, Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia, and Biotechnology, King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi, Thailand. And she also has the work experience in 2009, supervisor of quality control in Pahala Bahari, Nusantara, and starting from 2013, lecturer in food quality assurance supervisor, College of Vocational Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Imas Paido. The floor is yours. Please, Mrs. Imas.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Clearly.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hari, for the opportunity that has been given to me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Honorable Dr. Insinyur Arif Darjanto, Master of Economic, Dean College of Vocational Studies, IPB University, Dr. Bagus P. Purwanto, and Dr. Wawan Oktariza, Master of Science, as Vice Deans, College of Vocational Studies, IPB University, Mr. Sugiono and Mrs. Ria as our speakers, and also university partners from Politeknik Pembangunan Pertanian, Politeknik Australia, University of Western Australia, Van Hoorn Netherlands, Nagoya University Japan, Tarlac Agricultural University Philippines, Guimara State University Philippines, Iloilo Science and Technology Philippines, National Taiwan University, and Tech Group Thailand. Excellencies, distinguished guests and participants, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. I am very happy and pleased to announce that we have almost 300 participants attending this webinar today from all over the world in this platform, Zoom and YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, and also good evening for all participants all over the world. As Mr. Hari said, I am Imas Faido Fatima, and I will be your moderator in this webinar today. I am very happy and pleased to see all of you in this online webinar. Welcome to the webinar series 12 entitled How to Enhance Food Safety in Food Production and Industry Perspective. This webinar is a part of the first summer course on nutrition, agriculture, and sustainable food systems in tropical countries that organized by College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. And also we would like to say thank you to International Collaboration Office and Directorate of Student Affairs, IPMAWA, IPB University for their funding and sponsorship. And ladies and gentlemen, in this webinar, we have the speakers who are Mr. Sugiono from PT Greenfields Indonesia and Mrs. Ria from Aerofood Indonesia. Before we start, I would like to inform you the sequence of the webinar today. This webinar divided into two sessions. The first session is the first speaker presentation for about 40 minutes and followed by discussion about 20 minutes. And the second session is the second speaker's presentation. It's about 40 minutes and followed by discussion for 20 minutes. And the last is closing. Okay, for the first session, I would like to introduce our first speaker is Mr. Sugiono. Mr. Sugiono, STP. How are you, Mr. Sugiono?
Hello, good morning. I'm fine, good.
Yeah. Okay, allow me to read his curriculum vitae first. Mr. Sugiono is Quality Control Manager at PT Greenfields Indonesia. He earned his bachelor degree at Brawijaya University in the field of food science and technology. As Quality Control Manager at PT Greenfields Indonesia from 2018, he has responsibility to control end-to-end process, comply with standards with the goal focus on customer who they can promise with quality or food safety product that they consume. Okay, before the presentation begin, I want to inform you if you want to ask any question to the speaker during the presentation, maybe you can write your question in the chat window, or maybe you can ask directly to the speakers in the discussion time. And for the e-certificate, you could fill the link in the chat window that we will share. Okay, and welcome to our first speaker with the presentation entitled Developing Food Safety System and Food Safety Culture in Food Industry. Mr. Sugiono, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Imas Faido. Thanks to IPB University give me a chance to share the presentation here, and I'm very happy to share about food safety today. But today we are not just how to discuss about how to create food safety system, but how to build the food safety culture in the industry. Okay, I will share my presentation. Okay, have you seen my presentation?
Yes, we already
Okay.
seen.
Today we will talk about developing food safety system in food industry and food safety culture in food industry. But I think the food safety culture is the most important. Well, when we make the food safety in the food. Now I'm working in PT Greenfield Indonesia as QC manager, and also I'm joining the SLO. This is the saving life officer in the organization or group in the world, which the group is for food safety enthusiasm that promoted by Nuno F. Soares for Portugal, and I've joined this since December in 2019. And we are discussing about food safety, how to develop food safety system, how to create the food safety culture in the world. I think like that. Okay, the first presentation we have the key fact that the unsafe food containing harmful viruses, parasites, and chemical substances cause more than 200 diseases. That's ranging from diarrhea to cancer. An estimated 19 million, almost 1 in 10 people in the world fall in after eating contaminated food and die every day, resulting in the loss of 33 million healthy life years. Children under 5 years also carry 40% of foodborne disease burden, with 100,000 deaths every year. Diarrhea disease are the most common illness resulting from the consumption of contaminated food, causing more than 500 million people to fall ill and dead every year. I get this data from United Nations in April 2020. Okay, that's why we need to create the food safety or food safety system. So what is food safety? I think food safety is all activity doing that to prevent people getting ill or dead after consume food caused by foodborne illness. Foodborne illness, commonly known as food poisoning, it is caused by eating food that is contaminated by bacteria or other harmful substances. So that's why we need to concern to food safety. We need to concern the food safety. What can contaminate in food? Like Pak Dean say, we have 3 sources of contamination. There is a chemical hazard, like a cleaning and sanitizing materials, pesticide, unsuitable metal container, excessive food additive. Number 2, hazard physical, broken glass, nuts and bolts, hair, fingernail, pen and dressing, stone and leaf, paper and packaging, pest bodies, edge and nesting material. So number 3, biological hazard. There is a bacteria, viruses, parasites, naturally occurring chemical in some fungi, plant, fish, and shellfish. There is a mycotoxin and food allergen. Source of contamination can be from anywhere in around of us. Start from air, machinery and utensil, storage and transportation, water, ice and steam, packaging material, plant structure and environment, pests, employee and visitors, food handling, raw material and ingredient can be contaminate the food. Okay, this there are the source of the contamination to the food. So why food safety is very important for industry. Maybe I think there are two factors why industry going to implement the food safety system. Number one is external factor. External factor can be for legal compliance. In Indonesia, there is SNI, Indonesian National Standard, PPOM, or risk management program, or come from customer requirement. Some customer want to the supplier or to the factory get the certification to make sure to give the assurance that the food his project is safe for the consume. So the customer there are requirement to factory to get the certification. Or can be the internal factor. Maybe the factory prevent to get losses. Maybe can to get prevent the recall or withdrawal, or to maintain the brand image. So the factory implement the food safety to make sure the product, the produce is safe to consume by customer. What can we do to avoid the food contamination? I have three options to avoid the food contamination. First, we can apply or implement the good manufacturing practices, and then implement the HACCP plan, and then build the food safety culture. I have the schematic diagram to illustrate the relationship among GMP, HACCP prerequisite, and the HACCP system. When we will implement the HACCP system, we must implement the HACCP prerequisite, and then the GMP, the mandatory practice required by government or international regulation, and then the optional practices required by particular food processing establishment. And we also must adopt the food safety management practices, good hygiene practices, food quality management practices, and maybe we can get information for company-wide voluntary food quality management practices. Here is the generic list of basic food safety system. When we will create the safe food, at least we must control these all activities. Start from plant and environment and facilities, production equipment and machinery, raw material and ingredients, quality assurance, storage and delivery, employee training and personal hygiene, cleaning and sanitation, pest control, and record keeping and traceability. When we have control of all of this activity, I think we will get the food safe where in our factory. Okay, let me start in first prerequisite. The first prerequisite is establishment premises and facilities. This prerequisite program addresses the requirement directed at the location, design, construction, and maintenance of buildings that are used for food processing. The primary consideration of the building, its ground, structure, and facilities are not the sort of contamination or cross-contamination of food. There are protection from entry of pests into the building, and clean and sanitary condition can be maintained. There are mainly implemented during the design and construction stage of food processing. Number two, establishment personnel training, hygiene, and practices. This prerequisite program addresses the activities direct at the requirement and the sanitary behavior of employee in food plant. It's very important in this situation in pandemic COVID-19. I think the personnel hygiene is very important besides to make sure the food processing is very in good condition, also to control the COVID-19 to being infected to the others. It's very important. Employees in food plant play the critical role to ensuring the food safety produced at the plant by completing the signing tasks. It is essential. Then the employees should not contribute to be source of contamination or cross contamination of food. Consideration under this program ensure both temporary or permanent employee have the required education and training, are adequate supervised, follow the required work-related tasks, personal hygiene requirement, and acceptable personal practices during their work. Prerequisite number 3 is establishment about cleaning and sanitation. This prerequisite program addresses all ongoing and periodic activities and operations that are directed at maintaining the environment, facilities, structure, and equipment in food plant under sanitary conditions. The maintenance of sanitary conditions in food plant, including clean and sanitary environment, structure, facilities, and equipment, is essential to ensure the food produced under sanitary conditions to prevent from this source and to prevent breeding of pests. Prerequisite number 4 is about pest control. This prerequisite program addresses the activities directed to controlling, preventing, and excluding the occurrence of pests. Certain preventive measures for pest control in relation to the building structure as well as the internal environment and the external surrounding. Pests act as source of food contamination or cross-contamination. Pest control program ensure that food is produced under control conditions to prevent contamination from pests. Number 5, equipment. This prerequisite program addresses the activities directed at design, construction, installation, performance, maintenance, and use of equipment in food plant. In this prerequisite program, the primary consideration are to ensure that the equipment are capable to processing products that meet the safety and quality requirement, while at the same time, the equipment must not be the source of contamination of the product. Number 6, transportation, receiving, storage, delivery, and shipping. This prerequisite program addresses the activities, transportation and receiving of all materials to be used in the processing and packaging operation, storage and warehousing of all material and product at the food establishment, shipping and transportation in all food to the point of delivery. Controlling function of this procedure to prevent the contamination, cross-contamination, and X. And then we must control about the prerequisite about the customer complaint, traceability, and recall. This prerequisite program address the activities about handling customer complaint, the procedure to be followed for conducting a recall of food that has reached the marketplace, and then identifying and tracing all raw material, ingredient, and product. Analysis and reviewing customer complaint related to the defective product ensure the identification of trend and identification of need for a product recall or of any specific problem requiring attention. Inevitable rejection of product will be necessary from the time to time to protect the public, to comply with appropriate legislative or local authority requirement. To protect the company or brand name and to secure the cost recovery. The accurate recorded identification of the usage and movement of raw materials, ingredient, product, including recycle or rework product, at all the stages is processing, handling, storage, and distribution of food are essential. The trace the correct lot that has been affected. So it means the traceability is very important to create the food safe. The safe food is very important. All the record in production, during packing, and the distribution is very important to be recorded. Prerequisite number 8 is raw material control and control of manufacturing. This prerequisite program addresses the activities, control of incoming raw material and other ingredients, control of food manufacturing operation essential to produce a safe food. A proper functioning of control purchasing ensure that purchasing are conforming to the specific requirement. It's very important. All reasonable precautions are taken to ensure the production procedure do not contribute contamination from any source by careful monitoring of physical factors such as time, temperature, humidity, moisture, pH, pressure, and manufacturing operation such as like freezing, dehydration, heat processing, acidification, and refrigeration to ensure the mechanical breakdown. Okay, after we know the prerequisite program, how to implement the GMP in the factory, we can do with the 3 steps. First, we can do the self-assessment with GMP standard, and then we can, from self-assessment, we can find the gap and we can do the corrective action. After implement, we must do the GMP inspection frequently. Maybe we can do weekly or monthly we can do. Okay. And then I will see you the checklist of GMP inspection. We can use it for self-assessment or inspection. Okay, I will share the checklist for GMP inspection. We can use this checklist to do the self-assessment for our factory or our processing. Is our facilities, is our operation comply with the GMP standard? We can use this. I have 100 question about GMP. 100 question about GMP. Okay, we will see one by one. We can question for ourselves about premises and facilities. Is our processing factory and building premises are located away from environmentally polluted areas? Then we can inspect about personnel hygiene and practices. We can assess about our sanitation program. Is there any cleaning and sanitation procedure or schedule available for all the structure, facilities, and equipment? Our record are kept in all cleaning and exit. Also, we can assess about our pest control program. We can assess about the equipment condition, about the lighting. Also, we can assess about the supplier quality management, about the raw material, about process control, about our quality assurance program, about our security, about storage, delivering, and shipping areas, and about finished product. We must assess our operation, our facilities with this checklist. After we get the gap, the real and the standard, we can do the corrective action to close the gap. Okay, I back to the main slide. Okay, after we implement the GMP, and then we have do the self-assessment, and then we found the gap and do corrective action. Do the GMP inspection frequently. Okay. After we implement our GMP standard, to make sure our product is safe, we can implement the HACCP. What is HACCP? HACCP. It is a systematic approach to the identification, evaluation, and control of food safety hazard. And then we have a HACCP plan. What is HACCP plan? In the written document, which is based upon the principle of HACCP and which delineate the procedure to be followed. When we will implement the HACCP, there are 7 principles that must be do. The principle 1 is analysis hazard. This principle is looking at how the product is made, identifying possible hazard posed to the safety of food. And then we determine the critical control point. This is the deciding which these control are absolutely critical to the food safety. After we get the critical control point, we must establish the limit for each CCP. This is the setting limit for the safety operation and of the critical control. And then we must establish a system to monitor control of CCP. This is the assuring that the food meet limit set for each CCP. Principle 5, establish corrective action procedure. This is how to identify the likely corrective action to be taken when a particular CCP is not under control. Principle 6, we establish verification procedure. This is to ensure that the HACCP system functioning properly. And the principle 7, we have to establish the record keeping procedure. This is the documenting the requirement and recording all findings as the product are produced. Before we implement the 7 HACCP principles, there are 5 preliminary tasks in the development of the HACCP plan that we must do it before the 7 principles of HACCP. The first, we must assemble the HACCP team, and then we must describe of our food and its distribution. And then we describe the intended use and consumer of the food. And then we develop the flow diagram which describe the process. And we must verify the flow diagram. We talk about the assemble the HACCP team. It's very important to select the team members who are fully committed to develop and maintain the effective HACCP system in the organization. The company's management must demonstrate its commitment to the develop, implementation, and maintenance of the HACCP system. Number of people in the team dependent upon the type of operation and number of control which need to be monitored. Maybe due to the technical nature, the information required, the hazard analysis, it may also necessary that outside experts are consulted to verify the completeness of our hazard analysis and our HACCP program. The HACCP team should be membered by all of from all departments. Start from management, maybe can from product development or sales, production supervisor, maintenance, engineering, sanitation department, QC, QA department. The HACCP team must be complete for every department in the production. Okay, this is the sample how to describe the food how to describe the distribution, intended use, and our customer. In our HACCP plan, we must create this document. We must describe our product. It's just example. The name of product is greenfields, and then what is our product description? What is our process description? What is a composition of our product? How is food safety characteristic of our product? How long our shelf life? How our food storage condition? Packaging. We can see example 1 liter, 500 milliliter, 200 milliliter, like that. And then we give the information in the label, in the suggestion for consumer to consume our product. Maybe 6 before use, store under refrigerated temperature, and then how the product is distributed, how the method of distribution, and then who is the target of consumer. Is for all consumer. Okay, next, after we describe about our product or distribution, intended use, we must develop and verify the flow diagram. We must develop our diagram from end to end, from start until the finish, until product shipment to the consumer. And the HACCP team so perform an on-site review of the operation to verify the accuracy and completeness of the flow diagram. So the verify process just not just in the table, not just in the office, but the HACCP team must be on-site review. Go to the operation plan, go to the factory to make sure to verify the accuracy of the process, accuracy, the temperature time, maybe the pressure used, and the completeness of the flow diagram. Okay, we talk about the 7 principles of HACCP plan. The principle 1 is we must conduct a hazard analysis. When we conducting the hazard analysis, safety concern must be clearly differentiated from quality concern. So the HACCP plan is concerned about the food safety, not the food quality. It must be spirit. The hazard analysis is carried in 2 stages. We must identify how the hazard likelihood, how the probability it's occurring, and hazard evaluation, how severity this hazard can affect to the food safety. And then if hazard can be controlled by prerequisite program, this will not be subjected to hazard control. It means if GMP can control the hazard, so not be subjected to hazard by hazard control. When we conduct the hazard analysis, we can use this metrics to comparing how likely, how probability the hazard can happen, and the severity, the effect of the hazard. How to use this metric? When we use this metric, the likely may in just example, if the likely of the hazard is low, and then the severity is low, it means in our plan we use this term US. It is unsignificant. S is significant. If the likely or probability in the hazard is high, and then the severity is low, it means significant. The significant is must be controlled, must be prevent. Okay, and then in principle 2, we determine the critical control point. We can use this the decision tree to determine if the process or the material is being CCP or not. We can start here, and then we going to question 1. Do preventive control measure exist? If yes, we are going to question number 2. Is this step specifically designed to eliminate or reduce the hazard to an acceptable level? If yes, this is must be critical control point. From question 2, if the answer is not, we're going to question number 3. Could contamination with the identified hazard at this step occur in excess of acceptable level, or could this hazard increase to an acceptable level? If yes, we are going to question number 4. In question number 4, if the answer is not, it can be the critical control point. Okay. Next, this is the example, the document how to determine the CCP for every material and for every process. This is a sample of document for material. This is example. We must describe the material, what material we have, what material we use for production, and then what potential hazard in this material. We must describe this, and what can cause there is hazard in this material, how many the acceptable level of hazard in this material, and then we define how the probability and how the severity, and we can get the how significant of this hazard, and then we create the step to prevent it. And we use the decision tree to define to determine this is CCP or not. We going to question number 1, question number 2. So we can determine is this material CCP or not, or can be controlled by prerequisite program. PRP and OPRP is operation prerequisite program. PRP is prerequisite program. And for every step of our production, also we must determine the critical control point. Example for this step. This step is ultra pasteurization step. What is potential hazard in this step? It can be biological hazard, chemical, physical, or allergen. After we get the potential hazard, we define what is can cause the hazard, how the acceptable of the hazard, and then we define the how the probability, how the severity, and we have the how significant of the hazard. And we create the preventive action. What when we can do to minimize the hazard. We are going to the decision tree, question 1, question 3, and till question 4. It can be CCP or PRP. And if this process is CCP, M, it means microbiological critical control point. It must control in the next step. And then in principle number 3, we establish the critical limit. A critical limit is defined as maximum and or minimum value to which a biological, chemical, or physical parameter must be controlled at a CCP to prevent, eliminate it, or reduce to an acceptable level the occurrence of the food safety hazard. Principle number 4, we establish monitoring procedure. Continuous monitoring requires carefully calibrated equipment to ensure the accuracy. The monitoring procedure must be specific and designed to monitor its CCP identified. It is necessary to establish a reliable monitoring frequency and procedure to indicate that the CCP is under control. And all personnel responsible for monitoring must be trained and have a clear understanding of their role. Principle number 5, we establish the corrective action. To address a problem correctly, the manufacturer needs to identify the hazard and their causes. Long-term corrections are valuable because they address the underlying cause and are expected to solve a problem permanently. Corrective action must be documented and recorded to assist in the identification of problem and to determine if the hazard plan requires modification. These 3 principles, we can use this document for MCCP 1, the number of MCCP, what process it, this example ultra pasteurization, what is the critical limit. We must define how the procedure to monitor, what is monitored, how to monitor, when it's monitored, where is monitored, and who must be monitored. And then correction, what is the correction if there is non-conformity of the critical limit. And then we must create the corrective action. What is corrective action for that CCP? And who is the responsible for verify this limit, critical limit, and the CCP? And then where is this documented in what? Maybe we can use the form logbook, or others. And then principle number 6, we establish the verification procedure. Verification is defined as those activities other than monitoring that determine the validity of the HACCP plan and the system is operating according to the plan. To establish the verification procedure, we can use this document. What is the CCP, and then how the critical limit. We define the procedure of verification, frequency of verification, is verification to by who, and then the documentation, and when must be verification. In principle number 7, establish record keeping and documentation procedure. Each record should be identified by a unique reference number to track information. Record must be kept for a long of time defined by legislation and the shelf life of the product. Records should be available to each food processing plant manager who should be familiar with their content. The record should cover at least this HACCP plan, CCP monitoring record, hold, trace, recall record, training record, audit record, customer complaint record, and calibration record. But all of us maybe have the question, we have same question, but why? Despite all the inspection, training, and check inherent in HACCP and food safety program, there is still recurring cases of foodborne illness in the world. We can answer this question. Maybe we have to moving toward food safety 2.0. If there is industry 4.0, we in SLO, Saving Life Officer group, we are discussing about food safety 2.0. What is this? In food safety 1.0, the truth is that the current food safety is too dependent on external motivation, much depend on the retail company that force the food manufacturing organization to implement the food safety certification program, or even the food safety professional casing worker or senior management to implement procedure and maintaining compliance. But in food safety 2.0, the purpose has to come from within, from the organization, which acknowledge that everyone in food industry worker assumes their share of responsibility to ensure that people don't fall ill or die from consuming unsafe food. Responsible food workers have to do it every day, even when no one is watching. And this is called a food safety culture. I said this, I get the element to build food safety culture. It has been published by GFSI in November 2017. There is 5 elements how to build food safety culture in the factory. The factory must have the clear vision and mission. How to the management have the great commitment to make the food safe. And then how all people in the factory aware about the food safety, and then consistency day by day to follow the procedure, then adaptability and hazard and risk awareness. These five elements, we can measure how the food plant or food processing have the food safety culture or not. Vision and mission. It can be measured with the existence of objective and defined policy, both at the level or purpose and intention of food safety management system planning level, risk assessment level, and company strategy level. Top management level to continuous improvement. Percent of production supervisor with knowledge and HACCP methodology. In element people, we can see percent of employee involved in the production or handling of food with high understanding of your commitment to food safety. How many percent of employee involved in the production of food with high understanding of implication of non-conformities. And then there is investment of continuous improvement or training program in food safety. Inconsistency element we can measure with the compliance of workers' food safety responsibilities. Consistency between proposed strategies and actual action. Existence of document with clear description of tasks and responsibilities. And then in adaptability element, how many percent of corrective action implemented timely and effectively? Effectiveness of customer complaint handling procedure. And then customer satisfaction, response rate, and customer satisfaction index. And then in hazard and risk awareness, we can measure the compliance with procedure and procedure related to CCP deviation, percent of conformities resulting from behavior that put food safety at risk, percent of employees complying with food safety training plan. When we measure all these five elements, we can get information: is the food plant or food processing have the quality culture or not? We can measure it time by time. And then how to improve awareness of food safety? We must be campaign about this. If you think that your mission is to define the requirement, the organization must fulfill the guarantee for safety, you are wrong. If you believe your mission is to respond to client complaint and corrective action effectiveness, you are wrong. If you believe that your mission is to train people on food fraud mitigation measure, you are wrong. If you believe that your mission is to check if people are washing their hands, you are wrong. These prerequisites are important. These are only tools we use to achieve our higher purpose. What is that? Saving people's life. So our higher purpose of food safety is not certification. It's not customer complaint. It's not the training of people, but how to save the people's life. So one of my activity, I'm become SLO, Saving Life Officer. All of you can join this in with Nuno F. Soares, which have the website nunofsoares.com. He is from Portugal. Is a food safety professional from Portugal. Okay, and then in this situation, in this pandemic situation, is COVID-19 affect to food safety system? The answer is yes. Is affect to food safety system. But we must know that there has been no report of transmission of COVID-19 via consumption of food. So the food processing or food plant, there are some additional tasks and additional procedure for food industry to respond this issue in COVID issue. Maybe here is some task or some procedure. We have a new diagram for visitor. Is implement because of COVID-19 issue. So the mass visitor must be must follow this this procedure, must be checked the temperature, must be fill the visitor health declaration, and etc. And then for all employee, the check temperature when will enter to the manufacturing area. And then the procedure for all employee must using the mask in all area. So we also implement the physical distancing for all employee and in all activities. And then again, campaign about hygiene personnel. In GMP, we have implement the hygiene personnel, but in this situation, we must more campaign about personnel hygiene. Okay, maybe I will share this. 10 things consumers should know about food safety and COVID-19. It's a document from United Nations. Thing number 1, currently there is no evidence that the new coronavirus that cause COVID-19 can be transmitted by food. Number 2, coronavirus cannot grow in food. The best way to avoid COVID-19 is through good hygiene habit. And then cooking food to the right temperature is always the good way to prevent getting sick. Number 5, it is safe to eat raw fruit and vegetables. Handling food packaging is unlikely cause of food of COVID-19. 7, good habits when out shopping. 8, thanks retailers for providing access to food and keeping it safe. Support food safety effort in the agriculture food chain. And 10, do all of the above and wash your hand again. Okay, I think that is all my presentation. I back to Miss Imas, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sugiono, for the very comprehensive and interesting presentation. And we have 20 minutes time for discussion, and we get a question from three questions in the chat windows. For the first question, in the matrix, how do we determine the how do we determine that the likely will be low, medium, or high? And also, how to determine the severity will be low, medium, or high? Please, Mr. Sugiono.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the question from Aulia Rahmi. How we determine the likely, the hazard, and how determine to the severity in the hazard. Maybe we can determine by the baseline for our history in the plan. Maybe we can use the history from other plan, maybe from our competitor, maybe we can use the literature. Is the problem, is the hazard, is how the severity is low, medium, or high? We can use many things. Yeah, I think like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then the second question is from Adira Diva. Hello, Mr. Sugiono. Thank you for your presentation. And I would like to ask about food safety in canned food. How we can predict the presence of microbiological hazard in canned food, such as Clostridium botulinum in canned food.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe the Clostridium botulinum in canned food is the most biological bacteria that we target to eliminate. I think in every process, maybe there is bacteria, some operation. No, there is not. But our hazard plan, our CCP must be control the most target, the most targeted of the bacteria. I think if the most targeted is Clostridium botulinum, so the CCP maybe the time of processing, the temperature of processing must be targeted for Clostridium botulinum. How we can predict the presence of microbial? I think Clostridium botulinum is common bacteria in canned food. So I think it's a general operation in canned food must be control Clostridium botulinum.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And the third question is from Putri. Self-assessment with GMP standard is like, what are the points required in the GMP standard self-assessment?
Okay, thank you. What are the points required in the GMP standard self-assessment? All of element is the required point. I think it's very important when we do the when we do the implement the GMP standard. I think the minimum requirement we must do the GMP before we maybe we can maybe we cannot do implement hazard plan before we do the GMP implementation. So the all of standard of GMP must be followed by our plan.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, and then the next question is from Anissa Dabita. I would like to Is there okay? And then the coronavirus is assumed to have originated from food like a bat and steak consumed by someone in Wuhan, and it apparently has the same gene sequence as virus in snakes and bats. Is the coronavirus outbreak can be considered as a foodborne disease? And does it mean that there is a lack of food security and food safety in food production? Seems like.
I think it's a question consumed by someone in
Maybe,
Wuhan. It's apparently
yes,
the
maybe that is the change if uh, the coronavirus can transmit it from the.
yes, maybe it's my opinion. Yeah, that's my opinion. When we must consume the animal from anywhere, maybe we catch from the jungle. Maybe we not process it with the good temperature, and in some animal have the bacteria or viruses in their body, and then we cannot how to we don't know how to control the bacteria on the viruses in their body of an animal. It's maybe can be transmitted to our body.
Okay, maybe it's for the answer. There is a question again from Juharia. You wanted to ask directly. You can click or you can unmute. Okay, Juharia. Juharia. Okay, you can unmute your mic. Okay, maybe we can wait for Joharia. And this is the question again from Anissa Dabita. Is there any possibility that we can skip what should industry do? And how about if the industry doesn't have.
Hello, sorry, I can't hear you.
Why your voice is lost? Are you still there? Coba.
Okay.
Okay. Sip.
Okay. I'm sorry because the connection maybe. And thus, Joharia, what about your question?
Yeah, okay. So, Assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you for the time, Mrs. I. My name is Juharia from Vocational School IPB University. I would like to ask Mr. Sugiono. So, you were mentioned about contamination from environment, and it was mentioned that air can be a contamination to the food. So, in industry, they mostly process their products indoor or inside the industrial building. So, to prevent and to minimize the contamination from air, such as small particles, bacteria, viruses, they can use air purifier or to make a good circulation inside the building. So those are things we can do indoor, inside the building. And so the question is, do industries have a protocol to prevent or to control contamination from air or from environment, from outdoor or outside the industry? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Juharia. The question about how to control the air in industry. Air, we must control the air supply to the room of the food processing. We can use the automatic handling unit. We can filter the air from the outside to the inside. we can use the HEPA, high efficiency particular absorbent, and we can use the overpressure from the food processing and then the outside area. So the air will be flow from the inside to the outside, not outside to the inside. Okay, I think like that.
Okay, it's enough. Yeah, okay.
Maybe Bu Ai,
Yes.
there is one question for Anissa Dabita that no answer yet.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any possibility that we can skip one principle
Okay,
of
yes.
HACCP? I think it's not. We can skip the HACCP principle. The HACCP plan is not talk about the money. It's talk about the procedure. We not need money to implement the HACCP, but we need the commitment, we need the procedure, and we need the commitment to implement it. No, money is not the reason, I think. Okay, bye.
Answered by Mr. Sugiono. Thank you for the presentation, and we finish for the first session. And thank you for all active participants for all the questions. And we will continue to the next session. Is the presentation from our second speaker. Let me read her curriculum vitae. For her education background, Mrs. Ria. Her education background is from STP NHI or NHI Bandung, Bandung Tourism Institute in Food Beverage Management, and she already continue her education in Sahid University. And for the work experience, more than 20 years experience in food and beverage industry, in the hospital of product in the group, hospital catering manager, and in Burger King Indonesia as restaurant general manager, and currently working as senior manager sales in industry and retail at PT Aerofood Indonesia, subsidiary of Garuda Indonesia. And welcome to the second presentation from Mrs. Ria. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Imas. I would like to share my screen. First of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to join this event. I hope you guys can relate to my presentations. Okay. Maybe for the theoretical about HACCP and food safety, Pak Sugiono, I think will be more expert than me and is already discussing about it. So I will share the guidelines for food and beverage services at the new normal period, and especially at Aerofood Indonesia. Okay. Today, I will present about ICS profile, Republic Indonesia Government Health Protocol Guide at PT Aerofood Indonesia, implementation of food safety procedures and procedures related to the HR management of human resources. First, about Aerofood ICS profile, as we know that Garuda Indonesia is our national flight carrier. And under Garuda Indonesia, we have 7 business or subsidiaries, like Citylink as a low-cost in-flight, Aerowisata, Gapura, ASIS, GMF or Garuda Maintenance Facility, Garuda Indonesia Holiday Funds, and Saber as an IT developer for Garuda Indonesia. And here under Aerowisata, also have 5 main business like food service, hotels, travel, transportation, and also logistic. Now we are discussing about Airfood SES. Airfood SES has 5 main business. The first, and as we know that Airfood SES is number one of in-flight catering provider in Indonesia, especially for Garuda Indonesia and other foreign airlines. We're already serving foods more than around 45 years. Besides in-flight services, we have ISTS, in-flight service total solution. We provide food and beverage materials like the dining equipment, blanket, headset, and other passengers needed. We also have commercial services here. Commercial services is like beef supply, and also now currently we are developing food and beverage retail under PT Airfood Indonesia for B2C. And then we have industrial services. It's also a catering services for hospital, for offices, manufacture, oil and mining and gas company. And our baby business is a facility management services that we have our own cleaning management services. The first aim is for cleaning our own kitchen and all over Indonesia. We have 9 branches all over Indonesia and also supported by around 35 catering partner.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Ria, for the slide.
Yes, sorry?
We cannot see the slideshow.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. Can you see the slide right now?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So this one has already been. All of you can view, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, we mean in the slideshow format maybe.
Okay. Okay, we just jump in. I think that I already explained about our company profile. I just jump to Republic Indonesia Government Health Protocol. Okay, as we know that there are 5 main protocols for handling COVID-19 as shown on the picture. And also you can read on my PDF, this presentation materials. The COVID-19 prevention procedures, first is provide hand sanitizer, must wear gloves and masks, and there must be a minimum distance between the general public of 1 meter and spraying disinfectant to ensure the sterility of all areas and business equipment. And there are other government regulation number 21 of 2020 concerning large-scale social restriction, and also from Kementerian Pendayagunaan Aparatur Negara and Reformasi Birokrasi Republik Indonesia regarding the work from home. And right now, during the new normal period, the Indonesian government continue to implement policies related to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are at PT Airfood Indonesia, we really support and implemented all of the government regulation.
Ms. Ria?
Yes?
The slide is not moving.
Oh, why? Sorry. Kenapa nggak moving? Sorry, display. Oh, but now. Already?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, okay.
Okay, sorry. I think it's about the problems in the display setting. Okay, and now the health protocol guide at PT Airfood Indonesia. The first is before entering the building, employees are required to wash their hands first. So we have some facilities for hand washing and all over the areas. Body temperature measurements are carried out by security for each employee and use a hand sanitizer before entering the room. If there is an employee who has a fever above 37.3 degrees Celsius, employee will be immediately escorted to the Airfood SES clinic for further examinations. We also have a clinic here in our own premises, and also the doctors always in charge here. And Airfood SES also have a COVID-19 committee. We also implementing PHBS or pola hidup bersih dan sehat or clean and healthy behavior steps, and implementing social distancing by reducing direct interactions. For personal hygiene at production area, as a picture shown on the left side, we have a shower air room. So production employee first are required to change their clothes, especially from outside. And before they come or entering the production area, they will cross to this air shower room. So to make sure that all dirt and hair are not on the uniform anymore. All employees also required to wear a mask and hairnet and wash hands before entering the production area. And this is cleaning and sanitation of room and equipment for the third. Cleaning and sanitizing public facilities and in places that have high potential as a medium for transmission of COVID-19, such as lockers, door handles, stair railings, and also like as shown on the picture or at our musola. So employee has to bring their own prayer mat and they are needed. The disinfectants used are chlorine 50 until 100 ppm. And then we also clean sanitize equipment before and after use in all area. This is some picture when we cleaning and sanitizing warehouses and also offices area. We also spraying ex-aircraft equipment on the outside and inside thoroughly using a disinfectant. We wash all equipment using the dishwashing machine, and officers are required to use personal protective equipment like gloves, hairnet, and mask. So we make sure, especially equipment that has been used from outside, are cleaning and sanitized before using for the next services. This is the implementation of food safety procedures. Like we know that food safety refers to handling, preparing, and storing food in the best way to reduce the risk of individuals becoming sick from foodborne illnesses caused by food hazard. And we know that food hazards come from biological, chemical, and physical. How to prevent biological hazard? First, we use a different cutting board. We have a color coded for cutting board for different purposes. Like the red cutting board is for meat, the green one is for fruit and vegetable, and so on. Store food ingredients at the appropriate temperature for dry goods, chill, and frozen items. Equipment and storage of raw and cooked materials are separate. Knives are immersed in a sanitizing solution before and after using them to prepare other foods, and a separate food preparations area for meat, raw fish, fruit, and vegetable. And also like for in hospital, we also have a special room for making a sonde. It's a liquid food for the patients. To prevent a chemical hazard, the chemical room is separate and locked and only accessible to those authorized and trained in handling these chemicals. It's stored away from food and drink, not pouring chemicals into used food containers. And all chemical storage containers are clearly labeled. And MSDR or material safety data sheet is available for all chemical use. And to prevent physical hazard, first, we do not use glass equipment in the production area, especially ice cubes, because if it chips or broken and it mixed with the ice cube, we cannot identify where is the hazard. And the second one, we do not wear pins or bras in the production area. So for the ladies that using hijab, we are using like the Burgo style, and also we cover it with hairnet special for the hijabers. Do not use a stapler. All foodstuff that enter the production area are free from staplers, ropes, rubber. So at the receiving area, we already clearing it. When it's stored and come to production area, all of the raw materials are free from staplers, ropes, or rubber for the packaging. Do not use a knife that breaks easily like a cutter. Not using a wooden utensils. We do not use it anymore. Do not use a pan with a separate lid because, the lid can be thrown away and mixed with the food. So do not use a pan with separate lid. No smoking in production area, of course, and all over our building. Our building is free from smoking. Make sure all equipment is in good condition, not broken or chipped. The whole lamp has a cover. It is to prevent that the lamp is broken and the chips not mixed with the food. We pay attention to other things that cause contamination to be physically hazardous. There are 5 keys to safer food. Keep clean, like wash hands before handling food and often during food preparation, after going to the toilet, wash and sanitize all surfaces and equipment used for food preparation, and protect kitchen area, food from insect, pests, and other animals. Here at PT Area Food Indonesia, we collaborate with the third parties for handling this insect and pests. We separate raw and cook, separate raw meat, poultry, and seafood from other foods. Use separate equipment and utensils for handling raw food. Like I've already discussed before, it's a color coding of cutting board. And store food in containers to avoid contact between raw and prepared foods. And then the third one is cook thoroughly. Keep food thoroughly, especially meat, poultry, eggs, and seafood, and reheat cooked food thoroughly over 70 degrees Celsius. Number 4 of keys to safer food is keep food at the safe temperature. Do not leave cooked food at room temperature for more than 2 hours. Refrigerate promptly all cooked and perishable food and thaw frozen food at chiller temperature. So sometimes at other places, do the thawing of the frozen food like under the water or using a microwave or soaking in the water. It's not actually the procedure is just for thawing is you have to separate the frozen food and put it on chiller temperature. So that's why we have to make a production plans, and we do for the thawing process is about H-1 the day before we use it. So when the day we want to cook it, it's already been thawed and ready to cook. And then the last one is using safe water and raw materials. Using safe water, so of course, we do the microbiological test for our water here. Select and fresh and wholesome foods. For fruit and vegetable, not peeled, not rotten, and no holes in vegetable leaves. For frozen items, there is no thaw on products. For dry goods, of course, not expire. The cans do not dent and bubble, and no holes in packagings. We also wash fruits and vegetables, especially if it's eaten raw, like for salad or for fresh food for the desserts. And we do not use food beyond its expiry date. For the implementation of food safety procedures at Area Food SES, to maintain food safety, monitoring is carried out in critical points. From receiving, storage, cooking, blast chilling. The blast chilling is just only used for in-flight catering, but at industrial, because they use it directly at that time, so we do not use the blast chilling. Food setting, and the last one is delivery to the customer. Okay, we start from the receiving CCP1. From the receiving, like shown at the picture, actually all of this picture is not taken from Google, it's real at our premises here at Area Food SES. All vendors are required to wear a mask. All items received are checked for quality and temperature, especially for high-risk raw materials. For chilled products, the product temperatures are shown. Put the chiller immediately if the product is more than 5 degrees Celsius. But if the product is received more than 8 degrees Celsius, the product must be rejected. For the frozen products, the product must be in hard frozen condition and no signs of thawing. This is the storage. Storage is a CCP number 2. We provide identification of each incoming item to facilitate placement according to its type and storage area, whether it's dry, chilled, or frozen. We are removing goods with the FIFO system, first in, first out system. For the cold storage, chiller with a temperature of 0 until 5 degrees can be used to store drinks, ready to eat food and eggs, and for a maximum of 3 until 4 days. Freezer with minimum temperatures minus 18 degrees can be used for storage of meat, poultry, fish, ice cream, and frozen food storage for a period up to 6 months to 1 year. For dry storage, the cool temperature and a good ventilation must be applied. The room must be clean, dry, and not damp. And the shelves are at least 15 centimeters from the floor walls and 60 centimeters from the ceiling. And then the CCP3 cooking. The raw food ingredients must be cooked until they are completely cooked. The raw food ingredients can contain dangerous compounds and bacterial or viral contamination, so they cannot be consumed directly. So it has to be cooked properly. Like shown here, there are some items with the minimum standard of temperature, and the corrective action is when the temperature is not reached, then cook or call back to the temperature limit reached. For the blast chilling or CCP4 for using an in-flight catering, all products including meat, fish, chicken, sauces, pasta, rice, seafood, milk, egg products, cereals, and vegetables are subjected to a blast chilling process as soon as possible after the cooking process. It's available to ensure a fast reduction process is carried out, and the method for the lowering temperature quickly is to lower the product temperature from 60 degrees to 10 degrees in a maximum of 4 hours. Actually, we deliver the room at the chill temperature at 10 degrees, and at the airplane, the stewardess will reheat it before serving to the passengers. For the food setting at CCP5, serving food using a clean serving tool and serve in a separate place for each meal. The food is then set at room temperature, 15 until 20 degrees Celsius, and ensure the food temperature doesn't exceed 15 degrees. For the delivery at CCP6, we always maintain cleanliness and sanitation of food transporters, and employees involved in the food delivery process are required to wear a mask, harness, overcoat, and gloves. For delivery at industrial catering, sometimes our client doesn't have their own kitchen, so we cook at our kitchen and delivery using our own vehicle transportation to the client's premises. We also check the food until it's delivered. With sterilization, the vehicle before delivery process and also after delivery process. Okay. Implementation of food safety procedures in industrial catering, like I've already mentioned before, our industrial catering also serving for hospital, for patients, doctors, and the family of the patients. For the patients right now at the pandemic COVID-19, we changed the serving, like shown at the left side. Going into the right side, we are using the mono-use equipment. Employee using a PPE when when handling overfood with patient, nurses, hospital, and employees in the canteen, and using disposable equipment for patients at the hospital, so there is no washing process. It's also safe for our employee. For COVID-19 patient services, handover is carried out at the nurse station, so the nurse will be deliver the food to the patients, and the plating process is carried out by the officer so that the safety and cleanliness of the cutlery is maintained. Like we show for the manufacturer, we do the serving, our staff will be plating all of the food, so there is no chance that the employee using the same utensil for taking the food from the buffet. And this is the implementation of food safety procedures at lounge. Like place the hand sanitizer on each table. All employees during service wear masks and gloves. Adjust the seat distance. Hourly meal eligibility checks. meal refill or replacement every 4 hours, and we change with the new product. And plating is done by the officer so that the safety and cleanliness of the cutlery is maintained. Like shown in the kitchen. Okay. Because we still have to open our lounge also during the pandemic. Okay. There's a video of our food safety.
Tengah pandemi saat ini, Garuda Indonesia Group selalu berupaya untuk mengutamakan pelaksanaan protokol kesehatan di seluruh unit penumpang. Sebagai maskapai bintang 5, sebetulnya Garuda Indonesia telah menerapkan standar tinggi dalam higienitas sejak lama. Dalam hal ini, perusahaan Garuda Indonesia yang bertindak sebagai provider catering di atas pesawat, yaitu ACS, dan penyedia kebutuhan barang-barang di atas pesawat, yaitu In-Flight Service Total Solution atau ISS, yang telah menerapkan standar tinggi untuk higienitas dan sanitasi. Setiap petugas di ACS harus memakai perlengkapan seragam khusus, masker, sarung tangan, dan tutup kepala untuk mencegah kotoran dan menjaga kebersihan makanan. Sebelum masuk ke area persiapan makanan, petugas harus melalui ruangan sterilisasi. Di ACS, bahan makanan untuk produksi selalu dibersihkan melalui uji tes di laboratorium dan kemudian disimpan dengan suhu tertentu untuk menjaga agar tidak rusak dan siap dikonsumsi dalam waktu tertentu. Begitu juga dengan peralatan untuk menyiapkan makanan. Harus melalui standar kebersihan dan kesehatan. Peralatan ini juga selalu dites di laboratorium. Selama masa pandemi ini, peralatan makan di atas pesawat menggunakan single-use equipment atau peralatan makan sekali pakai. Dan selalu dipastikan untuk makanan dikemas dengan baik dan bersih. Contohnya menggunakan box atau paper bag. Dan makanan harus di-wrap dengan plastik atau aluminium foil.
Okay. In the hospital, also for our in-flight services, we change some hot meals food into ready-to-eat food like bread, sandwiches, and muffins, and also using mono-use equipment. And here, the last one is procedure related to the management of human resources or HR. We carry out the directions according to the circular number of our director regarding work from home using the cluster system. But if there is any urgent needed, it is mandatory to attend the office. The system is question aims to make useful in the traceability process. The grouping employee which age more than 50 years and comorbid to facilitate an appropriate division of labor, limiting night shifts, and conducting outreach through poster, video, and online training about this. HSA and human capital in each unit monitor and report COVID-19 cases under the coordination of the head office. Okay, that's all from me. I think we can just discuss with this presentation that I already began. Thank you, Ibu Imas, please.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Ria, for very insightful and attractive presentation. And we continue to the discussion time. Maybe for the participant, ladies and gentlemen, you can ask directly to Mrs. Ria by click the raise hand button first, so we can allow. There is a question.
Imas, am I talking too fast before when doing the presentation?
No, I think I already understand what you are explaining. Maybe we wait for a second.
Yes, because at my presentation, I just share how we implement the HCCP and the food safety process at our company, the implementation.
Okay. Okay, we already get the question, Mrs. Ria. It's from Vincentius Valen. Hello, Mrs. Ria. Thank you for the presentation. I am Valen from summer course participant. The question is, are the foods in flight catering still have a good quality if we chop after cooking and before delivered to passenger, the foods will reheat again? As we know that the nutrition in reheat foods sometimes will lose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad.
Mr. Valen.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, yes, Vicentius.
Okay, Pak Vincentius Valen. Okay. The food in flight catering still have a good quality if we chill after cooking. Yes, we do not, as our experiences for more than 45 years, after we chill, the food presentation doesn't change at all. And then before delivered to passengers, yes, the food will be reheat again on the airplane. So we serve until items locked in a trolley, food trolley. So the authorized person who unlock the trolley is the Garuda Indonesia and other stewardess at the airplanes, and then they unlock it, they reheat, and then they're serving immediately with the warm or hot trolley. So passengers will get the warm food, and the presentation doesn't change at all.
Okay, and how about the nutrition?
Because we do the blast chilling means to keep the food temperature on its base temperature, 10 degrees Celsius. We keep at 10. We just reheat like other fresh foods on the airplane. So we believe that the nutrition the nutrition fact is not reduced too much.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your answer, Ms. Ria. And then the next question is from Mr. Muhammad Eki. Since PT Aerofood uses disposable packaging, what are the way to do by Aerofood to manage the waste product from disposable packaging?
Okay. Yes, we use the disposable packaging. What are the way to do by Aerofood to manage the waste product from disposable packaging? Oh, it's for
disposable packaging, maybe.
Yes, actually, we have a special vendors to recycle our waste here. So all of waste from our premises here is already been recycled into another forms. But I believe that also in hospital that we are serving in there, also for the passengers. So like we transfer the food like maybe from Jakarta to Denpasar. At Denpasar, when they dismantle or everything's from the planes included the packaging waste, and they also using our vendors to recycle it. So still green, go green.
Yes. Okay, thank you for the answer. And then the next question is from Miss Chelsea Giovanni. Good morning, Mrs. Ria. I'd like to ask, what are the examinations for the end food product before it all went to the storage to make sure that it all well suited with the specification?
Okay. What are the examination for the end food product before it all went to the...
Maybe.
Yes, actually we have our own lab, and for examines whether the food product, this is before went to the storage, yeah, okay. We have a standard at the receiving area, which one is the product that categorized for the dry goods, which one is chilled, and which one is frozen. So it is handling based on its category. So when it's storage, like I've already explained it before, it's already clean and ready to use at the production area. And to make sure that it is all well suited with the specification, yes, we have the standard. We also hanging the poster. This product is categorized to which one and how to handling it actually. Like actually for the fruit and vegetable, we also have around more than 30 kinds of how to handling a different fruit and vegetables like that.
Okay.
And also we have our own lab here, our internal lab, and outside for testing.
In external, do the testing or analysis to quality of product. Okay, thank you. And then the next question is from Miss Mutia.
About the production.
The production cost with all the protocols, how can we manage the production cost?
Yeah, okay. Actually, we already calculate for the production cost before we negotiate with the airlines or also with the manufacturer or with our clients. And this HACCP process has been already calculated for sample. And yeah, because we have our own standard, so I think that our customers wants to spend more money to make sure that the food is safety, because yes, safety is need more cost for everything, but I think it's the number one. Like for manufacturer, they have to make sure that their employee who eating at their canteen is safe gitu. So that's why they chose us, because we already implemented HACCP. We have like hygiene type C for the airplanes. We comply with all the certificates and food safety regulations.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the answer. And then the next question is from Ms. Sheila Hadindra. As to the question regarding the implementation of personal training, how do you ensure that all the personnel implement the training regarding the food safety, especially on new normal era? Thank you.
Okay, how do we ensure that all personnel implement the training regarding the food safety, especially in your normal area? Yes, actually we have the online course system here at Airfood SCS. So every employee at all around Indonesia, they have to register by their own. They have to fill their data with name, number, Indo Karyawan, and so on. And they have a stages for the learning, like the basic one. They have to pass every courses. So then here at the main office at Jakarta, we can maintain that which one employee has already passed the like a mandatory training, and which one has to retest again. That's the way we control.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And maybe before I am going to the next question, I want to inform that for e-certificate, all the participant can fulfill the link in the chat window. Okay, and then the next question is from Mr. Muhammad Arsi. I am very interested in aerofood, especially about food in space station. What's the difference about serve food in the airplane and serve food in the aerospace? Thank you.
Okay.
Aerospace.
It's like an astronaut.
Yes.
Actually, for the airplane, we cook the food one day before we serve. So if we are serving for tomorrow, we cooking it today, and then we store it in a chill situation. For aerospace, because you are going to be in aerospace for around like 6 months, so I think we have to create what we call it, food that safe for more. I think frozen food. Yeah, I think it's a frozen food with the easily for reheating and cooking with the small. Yeah, I think it's using a food technology how to create food in a small portion, but it has the same nutrition like maybe here in airplane or industrial. I think, I hope that my answer, my explanation can answer your questions.
Okay, it's very unique in aerospace. Maybe dry food, maybe.
Yes.
Okay, and then the next question is from Michael Silalahi. How PT Aerofood handles sick employees, especially during the pandemic, because it is related to personal hygiene. Thank you.
Okay, how we handle sick employees, especially during the pandemic, like I already explained it before. We check the employee temperature before entering our premises. So if their body or heat temperature is more than 37.3, they are excluded. They cannot come to us. They have to make a report it to our committee. We have a pandemic COVID committee here at PT Aerofood Indonesia. And if one of our staff here they have symptoms or signs of sick, they can come to our clinic, and we also have our own doctor here to make the diagnosis about the health.
Okay, so the sick person cannot enter.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay, and then the next question, mini question here. Thank you. And from Mrs. Lisa Firhani, thank you for your very interesting presentation. Mrs. Lisa asked about how is the implementation of OK3, occupational health and safety, maybe a violation in ICS. What are the consequences for employees who violate or disobey these rules?
Okay, I think that it's depend of its type of the violations. We also here have a PKB or perjanjian kerja bersama as our Bible. So we going back to the PKB, and if maybe they are fighting here gitu kan, or they send the secret documented to others, or they fight in the kitchen area. Yeah, we have stages of SP or warning letter for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then the next question about as mentioned from Ms. Dina Amandasari, as mentioned, cold storage can be used to store drink or beverage. You need to add foods and egg for a maximum 3 until 4 days. So what to do with food that's been more than 4 days? Thank you.
Hello, Dina. Your question is cold storage can be used to store drink, ready-to-eat food, and eggs for maximum 3 until 4 days. So what to do with food that's been more than 4 days? For food that's been more than 4 days and not used, then we have to destroy it.
Okay.
It becomes a waste. We are strictly to these regulations. Like if the food is exceeded the temperature, maximum temperatures as shown at the CCP, it also exceeds the maximum days. So yeah, we do not use it anymore. We make it as a food waste, and we already calculate. That's why the production is really important here. And we have some system also here to pretend this happens.
Okay. Okay. Thank you from Miss Dina. And then the next question from Miss Dinda Aditami. Thank you for the presentation. And then the corona outbreak was very unexpected. Suddenly, many people didn't use land as the transportation at the time. So PT Aerofood was producing food not as much as usual. On the other hand, PT Aerofood already has foodstuff stock, such as raw ingredients, maybe in storage. So what did the PT Aerofood do to handle all of that? Are the ingredients wasted, or PT Aerofood handle the raw ingredients that's not used? Thank you. I think it's the same or related to the previous question.
Thank you, Dinda. For this pandemic situation, we are actually developing the retail system. Like, our catering for in-flight catering is reduced to 90-70%, especially during the first 3 months of the pandemic. So it's really hit us. And there are some raw ingredients, especially dry goods, because 2 months before we are preparing for the Haji period before the pandemic. We have lots of stock here because the Haji is one of the most number of flight for us. And then what we do is we see for the dry goods items, some of them with the very short expiry date. We have a bazaar actually, and we encourage our staff to buy it so it can be useful, especially for our own employee. And then we have create a reseller program for our employee so they can sell our food stock here with lower costs to outside. And also with the retail system, we create some food for serving in B2C at some, we already have collaboration with some e-commerce and also with the online food delivery. So that's our creations. Like now we are serving the fly with meals. So people here at the ground can also test how does it feels on the airplanes, but we can eat it right now at the grounds. Yeah, that's what we do. We make and we produce the livestock to something that can sell right now.
Okay, yes, it's very, because pandemic COVID. Okay, because the time we have still time to continue the discussion, Mrs. Ria.
Yes.
And then the next question is from Mr. Abdi Revan. Thank you for your insightful presentation on airplane related to safety. Okay, is there any method that Aero could do to reduce food waste? I think same with the previous question. For example, planning or how to Aero could handle the food waste safely on the airplane.
Okay.
On the airplane, yes.
Okay, Mas Abdi Revan. Yes, also we have a method to reduce food waste, of course. Like now that, especially for this pandemic, we change some hot meals into like snacks and also bread. So it has a more shelf life, like breads can be consumed for the next 3 days. So that's why we, how we do to reduce the food waste. And this has to be applied with the tight production number. We also have a system called MRP. So we collect how many food needed for every day, for planning for tomorrow and for the next day. And then we just make a buffer to eat. Like we can prepare the bread for 3 days. So it's be safe for us right now.
Yes, thank you. And then the next question is from Ms. Via Vanessa Devi. Ms. Via asks about how PT Aerofood control the supply of ingredients of this type as the passenger not too much as normal condition. I think the same also.
Yeah. How we control the supply of ingredients in this time as the passenger are not too much as normal condition. Actually we do the adaptation with the lower number, and we still do all the CCP things. We actually our vendors and suppliers also understand with this situation, like maybe for the MOQ, like minimum order is like 1 ton maybe per order, and then we negotiate with our vendors to reduce the quantity of the items, and they understand. So far there's no problems.
Okay, and then from the question from Ms. Samira. Good morning. How does PT Aerofood control the food waste, especially during flight? How does PT Aerofood control the food waste, especially during flight? I think it's already answered. Okay. Maybe probably Mrs. Shambira can see or can hear the explanation from Ms. Ria. And then the next question, or the last question, is from Ms. Anissa Fitra Rahmat. Okay, I want to ask, how is the percentage of food waste generated by Aerofood per month?
Actually, it depends on the production itself, and we set the target with the average not more than the 3% of our food productions.
Okay, more than 3%.
Yeah, maximum is on 3%.
Okay, less than 3% for the of the production. Okay, I think that's all of the question from the participant. It's very interesting topic to discuss. Okay, maybe thank you, Mrs. Ria, for all of the answer, and then we will close the second session. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all questions have been answered by all speakers, and I would like to thank to our two speakers, Mr. Sugiono and also Mrs. Ria, for the presentation and for all of the answer, and to all active participants as well for the question, and also to all participants who are interested in this webinar. Okay, and then ladies and gentlemen, because our time is limited, we are now at the end of the session, but before we close it, I would like to conclude for what the speakers has presented. Okay, I think to enhance the food safety in industry, many systems have to be implemented for production systems such as GMP or good manufacturing practices as the prerequisite system, and HICP or hazard analysis critical control point to control all of the processing to produce the food that high quality and safe. Such as sanitary condition, equipment, transportation, distribution, control raw material, and control all of the activity in manufacturing. And also the point that I pointed is related with food safety, with the high, our purpose is the safety, the high purpose is saving people's life. Okay, maybe that's it from me. And then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all speakers and audience and organizing committee. I also apologize if there are mistakes while being a moderator. And then I hope you enjoying this webinar. And can you give, please give a big applause for the speakers and this webinar by clicking the clap hand icon. Thank you. Okay, for all, stay safe and healthy. Have a nice day, and back to our Master of Ceremony.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Aimas Faido, for guiding this webinar. And thank you too for Mr. Sugiono and Mrs. Ria Lestari. It was a very precise and relevant presentation. I'm sure all of us related to every word that you mentioned. Thank you for sharing. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have found this webinar informative and useful. Before I close this webinar, please give one more applause, yeah, to the speakers and also to participants by clicking the emoticon or emoji reaction on your Zoom. Okay, thank you. Okay, before leaving, please turn on your camera for documentation. It is consists 5 or to 6 pages. Hold on your best poses maybe. and keep smiling maybe. Please hold for a while. Okay, this is 5 pages. Okay, I start from page 1. Page 1. Okay, ready, keep smile. And best poses. 1. Page 2. Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Page 3. Ready? Page 4. Page 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then 5, last one. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. All the page has been documented by screenshot. College of Vocational Studies, IPB University, to be the premier choice for higher vocational education. SV-IPB, tangguh terampil berkualitas. On behalf of the organizing committee, I close this webinar. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a nice day.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Mantul.
Thank you for all of the participants. Thank you, Mrs. Ria.
Thank you, Mr. Sugiono, and thank you for Mrs. Ria for sharing today.
Bye.
And thank you for all participants. You may leave now.
Tadi linknya udah kali ya?
Error ini gue.
And to all participants, don't forget to click the link for the certificate on the chat.
Ada di atas, ntar saya kirim ulang. Apanya? Udah semuanya.